kind of miss that. I
Yeah,
really do.
it was nice to hear.
Yeah. I mean, and so I guess with that, we're back or something like that. I don't know. I mean, it's what we're getting into week 13.
Yep.
And if you're contending, congrats. You made it through this like wild COVID riddled, injury riddled season. If not, and you're, I guess, looking forward to 2021 at this point, we're not there yet. But at least we can talk a little bit of Dynasty conversation. So y'all know who it is. I mean, it's Chris Allen, Adam Wilde, Dynasty Owners Manual Podcast Brothers back here to answer some of your Dynasty-related questions for DLF's mailbag episode. So we've got a couple of just like, I guess, quick conversations. Like we got a couple of questions for some folks in the chat. Like we were asking for questions earlier today on Twitter. So I guess, but before we get into it, I mean, so Adam, so how has your season gone? Let's talk about where we find ourselves 13 weeks into, this crazy season that's gone on so far.
I tell you, my season's been terrible, and I can tell you exactly why. I underestimated how much it was going to take raising a newborn, and I did not pay enough attention to the waiver wire this year, and I promise this was not the year to not pay attention to the waiver wire. So I'm just getting crushed by James Robinson teams. Hopefully people drafted him in the third or fourth, but you definitely could have got him on waivers in some less serious leagues and things like that. So there's definitely guys out there that I wish that I had. And I don't know. I think 5 of 12 playoffs for me.
Nice. Unfortunately, and this is more for a redraft thing, I did not make it into the SFB playoffs. My team,
me neither.
6-6. I think like just over 1,700 points scored, but did not make the cutoffs like this season. It was brutal. I think I prioritized running backs a bit too much in that league versus trying to at least secure decent quarterbacks or quarterback at least. And then also some good wide receivers to go with it. And of course, I drafted Michael Gallup, and that did not work out for me.
I think we severely underestimated the negative points that you can get from the quarterback position. I didn't know how many quarterbacks would have been unrosterable.
Right. Yeah, I think I thought that, hey, I'm just going to go ahead and draft somebody like Kirk Cousins, a little bit later, and especially earlier in the season. He had multiple fumbles, I think a couple of pick sixes. I think he didn't really like crater me, but for the teams I was playing against that had Kyler Murray, Josh Allen, most of those other guys that were putting up, 30, 40 points like in any given week, it's very hard to keep up with some of those teams. So I was sitting behind the 8 ball for quite a bit of the season. And just like you were saying, if you weren't heavily active on the waiver wire to pick up on or didn't draft like Antonio Gibson, James Robinson, I spent, I want to say like half of my fab on Darrell Williams because I lost Damian Williams in the offseason because he opted out. So I think I was limping into week 1, and it just progressively got worse from there. So I'm not too terribly surprised, but I'm just glad I didn't completely tank throughout the season, but it is what it is.
Well, the thing is, I saw quarterback scoring was going to be so difficult. So I figured, well, even good quarterbacks are going to struggle in the scoring format. So I grabbed Teddy Bridgewater and Joe Burrow. Obviously, Burrow got hurt anyway, so that's unfortunate. Oh, and I had Josh Allen, who I got a little bit later because people expected, due to the scoring, Allen's going to throw a lot of picks. It's going to be terrible. Well, the problem is, you really needed to get 2 really, really good quarterbacks if you were going to play 2 quarterbacks. A lot of teams just went away from playing 2 quarterbacks because there wasn't 15, 16, 17 quarterbacks that seemed viable on a weekly basis.
Yeah. So it was rough navigating the season. And I would say the woes that a lot of folks went through in SFB that extended out into like redraft dynasty and the like. So I think you really hit the nail on the head with saying that if you weren't active on the waiver wire, you were kind of missing out like to some degree. With like players getting moved to reserve COVID list, like the day before games, the day of games, injuries. There's just a lot that was going on. And I would say that And this was actually another conversation I saw on Twitter going on, I think within the last couple of days. And actually, I mean, this might be a good topic for us to discuss. I think this normally happens within most dynasty leagues. I don't know if it's the same for you, but I know that in redraft leagues, it's basically you have your big waiver run on Tuesday night, and then pretty much after that, from Wednesday morning until Sunday at 1 o'clock, it's essentially first come, first serve.
Oh, right.
But at least I know, if I'm not mistaken, for MFL, I don't know if that's necessarily the case. It might depend on your commish or whatever.
That's what it is.
Yeah. But I think a lot of folks, with so much news occurring at just different times of the day, and with it, I would seemingly think you had to basically be at your computer, ready to pounce on whatever happened. Like Gio Bernard has a possible concussion. I got to go rush to my laptop and go pick up some IGP, right? Something like that. There was a discussion going on about changing those to daily waiver runs to kind of give the entire league a chance to adjust, digest, and then put in your waiver claims, and then each day, or maybe every couple of days or something like that. So it really wasn't, you're not rewarding the guy that's just sitting with his phone or like at his computer or something along those lines, which to some degree I kind of agree with.
Yeah, that's so difficult, because I want to say you should reward the people who are on top of things. However, I can't take my phone into work. So what was I supposed to do? I'm generally on top of things, except for the 8 hours that I'm in my workspace. I'm not going to be on top of things. So I guess we just have more news. It's not like news didn't happen in other years and the waiver wires didn't change. I mean, we might have had a couple weeks there with enhanced news throughout the week, and you didn't change the waiver wire. So I don't know. It's a unique situation, and it's obviously way more difficult than any other year, but I don't know if you can change the rules based on the amount of news that you might get. I think I would let it stay. I like saving on Fab and just seeing who people dropped, because a lot of times people have to make tough decisions. And they might have made a decision that I wouldn't have made and dropped the player that I would have preferred over the player they picked up. So I love when it comes to first come, first serve, and I try to save my Fab for the end of the year to get. So this year it didn't work out. I mean, I'm about to talk about Brandon Allen, and nobody actually wants Brandon Allen on their roster. That goes to show you how little Fab I used. But I love at the end of the year when like a slam dunk player comes. Let's say that Brandon Allen was actually good and he was going to get to start the rest of the season. Well, you have 100. Nobody can beat your total. So people say to be active on your waivers, and definitely be active and definitely try to win great players. But I just love at the end of the season when you have 100 and you're like, okay, well, I know that I'm getting this guy.
Yeah. So I don't know. I mean, it'd be definitely something to discuss within your leagues for next season. I mean, who knows? I mean, we don't know how the virus is going to be affecting both like our country and the league once the 2021 season starts. So maybe this might be all for naught. Hopefully everything is back to, let's say, some sort of normal by next August. Yeah, I mean, here's hoping. But either way, I mean, it might be worth doing something along those lines. Like if you do think that with things changing so rapidly throughout the day, if you do happen to be one of those folks that, and I'm kind of with you, I mean, in some cases, on some days, I might be in a skiff for like 6, 7, 8 hours, and I come out and like 2, 3 of my players are on the COVID list or injured or something like that. So it's worth a discussion with your league to see if that might be something that you could do for next year, not necessarily for this year. But again, with as much news that keeps going on, I mean, it's hard to be the person that's just always got your device handy so that you can make the proper adjustments. But I don't know. But either way, so let's get into some dynasty discussion. I mean, we're winding down to the end of the season, and with so much going on right now, I think there's a couple of storylines that I know some folks are interested in looking at for the 2021 season. And our good friend, Sigmund Bloom over at Football Guys, he asked one of these questions to start us off for tonight, and I think it's a great discussion topic.
Absolutely.
That I think will have a ton of ramifications over the offseason, assuming that both players don't wind up getting franchise tagged. But the question is, where do we see both Kenny Gallaudet and Allen Robinson after this season? And I know that the story of, Allen Robinson's career has been just nothing but,
oh my goodness,
just an absolute nightmare. From the jump. He goes from, being the alpha in Jacksonville to the alpha in Chicago, but he's been riddled with nothing but just bad quarterback play. Blake Bortles, Nick Foles, Mitch Trubisky. So with him, his contract is up after this season.
Mm-hmm.
I would love to see him go to somewhere else. And so I'll kick it to you first, Adam. Where do you see A-Rob at? Either from, where would you want to see him at, or where do you realistically see him at?
Yeah, let's start the conversation with cap space next year. Colts have a ton. Let's go down a little bit. Washington has a need there. The Jets, but I find it difficult to believe that we see either of these guys go to the Jets, just because it's going to be difficult for them to, maybe because they're getting Trevor Lawrence, they might be able to bring somebody in, but these are both guys that have already had their rookie contracts. They're ready to go somewhere and they're ready to play for a championship now. So you get all the way down here to the Ravens. They're a team that gets to about the top range where you could sign one of those really big wide receivers. You show here, it's actually pretty cool. Over the cap has estimated, in case it's 175 million or 190 million next year. We're not quite sure what it's going to end up being yet. So we'll talk about Kenny Gallaudet first. He was the first one with the question. So honestly, I've got three. I've got the Lions, Washington, and the Texans. We both have the Texans for Kenny Gallaudet, so we'll dig into that. But I just think that he's a perfect fit for the Lions, and I think they end up getting something done there. He has been far and away better than where they picked him, and he fits well with Matthew Stafford. He's not Allen Robinson. He's fantastic in his own right. But Kenny Gallaudet is more so going to need a quarterback that's willing to throw those 50-50 passes. The problem with him going to somewhere like Washington, that we don't know who's throwing any passes.
Right.
I don't think there's going to be a quarterback willing to throw Allen Robinson the ball and trust him and build that rapport with him when I don't even know who the quarterback is going to be. I don't think they know who the quarterback is going to be. I don't think that their pick's going to be early enough unless they lose out, but they're trying to win a division with 4 wins. So
yeah.
So unfortunately, Washington might win the division and end up with the 19th pick. So 18th, something like that.
Yeah.
So, and if that happens, there's no way that they're going to get Justin Fields, probably not any of the top 3 or 4 quarterbacks at that pick. So does Allen Robinson or Kenny Gallaudet want to go to Washington without a quarterback? Probably not. So I think Kenny Gallaudet likely stays with the Lions. I think they might end up with enough money to get it done. But let's talk about the Texans, specifically with Kenny Gallaudet, before we get into Allen Robinson. And now I think that the Texans are going to move on from Will Fuller. If they move on from Will Fuller, Kenny Gallaudet fits in there perfect. Their price tags are probably pretty similar. So why would you move on from Will Fuller? I'm not quite sure. Maybe the suspension doesn't sit too well with them, but it seems like that was an accident. I don't know. I hope. Whatever. Brian could have been involved. I'm just kidding. So if Will Fuller moves out, I mean, Kenny Gallaudet slots right in. Deshaun Watson is more than willing to build rapport with the receiver and just kind of toss it up to him. So I think Texans has to be ideal.
Yeah, I think that one was one that I had also pegged because just from the aggressive nature of Deshaun Watson, we've already seen him being able to work both the intermediate to deep areas of the field with both Brandon Cooks and Will Fuller. And as we were talking before the show, I mean, from a financial standpoint, yes, I mean, they're already carrying Cooks, I think, at like $8 million a clip, like over the next few seasons. Will Fuller, we'll see what his contract, what he desires for his next contract is going to be. And this was the thing, and I'm going to put this out there, and somebody come yell at me if this doesn't make any sense. But at least for the Texans, we already know that their defense it's not good. We'll just say that. They've been unable to really stop any sort of legitimate passing game for the past couple of seasons. Like, while they still have both J.J. Watt and Whitney Mercilus up front, I mean, really, they haven't been able to generate enough consistent pressure in order to force quarterbacks to either throw the ball away, reduce their passing attack, or even stop scrambles, like for the most part. So my thought is, why not dump both of those contracts? I mean, I think J.J. Watt is sitting at close to $15 million a year, if I'm not mistaken. Whitney Mercilus, probably half of that. But either way, I mean, those are two large contracts that if they were to dump those, and there's, to me, again, and as I was saying this earlier, there's something to be said for making your strengths stronger. Like, for instance, the Colts. The Colts took on Jonathan Taylor when they already had, Marlon Mack at the time, and then also Nyheim Hines and Jordan Wilkins. But because they were already a running team, they looked at it as a luxury pick, but also it's something that it's a part of their culture. It's how they want to run their offense. They want to make their strength stronger. I mean, the same thing for the Ravens taking on J.K. Dobbins. They didn't need to take J.K. Dobbins. I mean, of course, they were looking for a replacement for Mark Ingram, him being like 30 plus years old. But again, if they have, to me, one of their weaknesses was wide receiver. I mean, again, they're making their strength stronger because they are a rushing team. So this could be the same thing for the Texans. I mean, they could wind up, I guess, leaning into their passing game and getting as much out of Deshaun Watson as they can by bringing in more help. I mean, they don't have to, if they did it this way, they wouldn't have to dump Brandon Cooks or Will Fuller. They could pay both. And then wind up rebuilding the defense through the draft, even though I think they're missing this year's first round pick. But at the very least, they might be able to build it through free agency. But just lean on that offense, lean on their playmaker and the best player on their team, which is Deshaun Watson. So to me, I mean, while that looks like I have, I guess, my feet in both worlds, right? The real football world and then also the fantasy world, because obviously you'd want to see Deshaun Watson continue to light up on the field as he has been. Right. But either way, I think it's in the realm of possibility. And we've seen other teams like the Chiefs wind up continuing to build on their offense by bringing more players in that will wind up being more options for Patrick Mahomes. Why can't the Texans do the same thing?
So it makes total sense, except for J.J. Watt will not be released by the Texans. I do think he would be willing to restructure. He could restructure, and then that could make some sense. So in a way, and back to Brandon Cooks, let me hit on that before we move to Kenny Gallaudet. He is a potential out after this season, and then he's due 12, 12, and 12.5 in the coming years. So if they don't take that potential out, honestly, it sounds crazy, but he could be a trade candidate again. And it's actually worked out for every team that has received him in a trade, to be honest with you. I think he's surpassed expectations at every location he's been at.
Yeah.
So
get you a nice 1,000-yard receiver for a year and then wind up shipping him off somewhere else. All right, so what do you think about A-Rob?
All right, so Allen Robinson, so he's been visibly disgruntled with every quarterback that he's played with, and he has every right to have been. So how much can you weigh into that? I just think the guy wants to go win. And I mean, you could say that about everybody. I know that's a football-y take, but this early, before the offseason's even started, I'm just looking at Allen Robinson struggling. I really think he wants to go to a winner, and I think that's his best shot is with the Ravens. And I think Marquise Brown is going to end up being fine, but he doesn't need to be the wide receiver one anywhere. He would actually probably do a whole lot better if he weren't the wide receiver one. So if you could get Lamar Jackson, a true alpha wide receiver one, like Allen Robinson, go win some games. I mean, he might not be any less frustrated with Lamar Jackson, but when Lamar Jackson's running for 120 yards a game or whatever, you're not going to be too mad at the dude, right? I mean, so, and he'll throw some bombs too. So I don't think Allen Robinson would be too terribly upset to go with the Ravens and compete for a Super Bowl. I know it hasn't worked out for him this year, but that team is still rock solid. So I think the Ravens are not only one of the more likely spots, they can afford him. the article that I just showed everybody, if you scroll down a little bit, mentioned that there's probably going to be a lot of one-year deals next year because of the way the cap situation shakes out after COVID. So if he takes a one-year deal, tries to win with the Ravens, keep in mind Kenny Gallaudet and Allen Robinson are the same age. They're
Right.
both 27 years old. So Allen Robinson theoretically could still be reasonably in his prime. Go play his 27-year-old season with the Ravens on a one-year contract, maybe win a Super Bowl, and then he might still get a big 3-year contract after that. So who knows?
Yeah, I think that's the one that I like the most. The other one, and we were talking about this beforehand, and this one was more of an off-the-wall pick, but I would actually like to see Allen Robinson like go into Las Vegas.
Yeah.
I mean, because we've been looking at we were looking at Henry Ruggs to kind of take over and see if he was going to hit in his rookie year. He could wind up being, I guess, the primary wide receiver on that team, and that hasn't shaken out. I mean, really, I mean, it's been more of Nelson Aguilar. It's been, I mean, of all people, Darren Waller. I mean, in order to really take on that passing game, yeah, which is wild. I mean, but I mean, for all the things that we say about Derek Carr, I mean, he's timid. He doesn't throw the most deep balls. He's not aggressive. I mean, we haven't really seen him, but we haven't said as much as him being inaccurate. For this season, I think he's actually 9th in CPOE, completion percentage over expected, at about 5%. I think the passing game right now is 11th in EPA per play. I mean, and I'm saying all this after they just completely cratered against the Falcons with, I think, 5 turnovers total for the entire team. So that's not really, I mean, just this past weekend doesn't really help my case. But overall, I do think that John Gruden has been at least a useful play caller in terms of getting them in order to getting that team prepared to compete with that particular division. I mean, right. This is the same team that won. They beat Kansas City outright, and then they took them down to the wire the second time they played them about 3 weeks later.
That was insane.
Yeah, which was insane. So, like, while Week 12 did happen, don't get me wrong. I mean, we have seen them take good teams down to the wire and actually play and actually beat like Super Bowl champions. I mean, in the past. So I do think there's something to be said about that passing game. And Allen Robinson, like, while we don't really consider him to be a vertical threat, that's why they got Henry Ruggs. I mean, he could still work in the same area of field that Nelson Aguilar has been working in the intermediate range and play that alpha role that we've always wanted him to be. And that doesn't take Derek Carr out of his comfort zone. Allen Robinson can still operate in the areas of field that he's been known to operate in the past, because he's not a burner. He's just a physical separator and a great route runner. Yeah. So I think all of that fits into both what Derek Carr can do and what Allen Robinson wants to do. So while it's not the most realistic fit, considering the Raiders are fairly low in cap space, I do think that situation would work out well for both the Raiders as they sit right now, and Allen Robinson where he wants to be as a receiver in a good offense that I think has a legitimate shot to compete, even despite being in a division with Justin Herbert and Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah, and we'll just add the Jets because they have the money. If either player just decides that they want, a huge contract, which I do not blame anybody for, then the Jets do come in a factor. And hey, with Trevor Lawrence, maybe you get a plus, but I don't see that with Adam Gase. So we have one question, and then we'll get to our lightning round with these trades that we got earlier. So
let's do it.
The question is, I have Deontay and Claypool in a dynasty rebuild. Would you hold on to both or look to trade one? I'm light at running back, have 2 2021 first and 3 2021 seconds already. Well, I'd probably hold on. I don't see any need to get rid of either of them. If anything, Juju might move on after this season. So I don't, and they're both producing just fine without Juju. I did not see this from Deontay Johnson. I mean, he's right up there with the tops in the league in target percentage. His market share is phenomenal. And then Claypool has been uber efficient. I could see maybe selling him now. I actually tried to trade for him today. Somebody sent me an offer for James Robinson, and I countered James Robinson straight up for Claypool. That was declined. So that shows you where, because I think James Robinson's like the 107, 2021, 107 is probably where I would need to get to trade him. So people are valuing Claypool above that. You might want to trade him. You might want to grab another one of those 2021 first. There's some running backs in this class coming out next year that could be valuable early on.
Yeah, I've seen just random like Twitter lists over the past couple of weeks. Actually, within the past couple of days, I've seen Claypool in like the top 10 discussion for dynasty wide receivers. I've seen him in some people's like top 5, or at least I think at 5 though. I mean, but still, I mean, it's difficult for me to get to that point. I'm not 100% sold on him being top 5. But I do understand the hype behind him, especially considering, I mean, as of right now, sitting on a 20+% target share. I mean, he's actually out targeting Deontay in the red zone, like over the last 4 games. I mean, but still, I mean, with Big Ben like passing like 40 to 50 times per game. I mean, there's a scenario where both of them can wind up getting there on a weekly basis. So, I mean, I don't think that if you wind up getting the right offer for either of the two, then sure, I don't have a problem with pulling the trigger. But as of right now, I mean, you can kind of see, I mean, they're both young, both in a good offense that likes to pass the ball like fairly often. I think they're at the 4th or 5th highest like neutral passing rate like over the last month of games. So, I mean, the only linchpin to their value at this point is how much longer Ben Roethlisberger is going to play.
Yeah, that and what's to say that Juju doesn't stay, and then it's just kind of weird again. I mean, Juju's value has gone way down. I mean, of the 3 of them, I want Juju the most just because pretty soon he's going to be the cheapest, if not already.
I would think he would be at this point.
Yeah, I would think so too. My problem is that Deontay is going to command a large market share. I mean, I play a lot of Showdown on DraftKings, and I had a lot of Captain Deontay, and when
13 targets, I think, last night.
13 targets, but he went a while with only 2 targets, and I thought I was dead in the water. And then one drive, he got 6 targets.
Yeah.
So I mean, he's clearly Big Ben's go-to. But what does that matter when Big Ben moves on? It's got to be soon. So I just think if you're gonna sell Claypool for a top 5 pick next year, I'm in Superflex. I'm definitely in on that.
Sure.
I don't mind Claypool at all. I just think that's great value.
Yeah.
So what we have next, we've asked Twitter for all of their recent trades, and we're going to be the judge and juror on those trades. We have no idea who made the trades. We don't have any idea who made the offer. Nothing like that. We have a bunch of random trades. What we're going to do is a lightning round, and we're just going to try to pick as many sides as we can. We'll have 2 minutes total. One of us will read while the other answers for 60 seconds, and then 60 seconds after that, we'll switch. So we both have the question. We both have the trades. You've got your trades up right now.
I will pull them up.
All right. And we will have a sweet little ticker for the amount that we get.
If somebody's going to wind up yelling at me because I'm going to screw these up. I already know I am.
If we go, over 20, sorry, I only have 20 banners. So I am going to start the clock right now. All right, DeAndre Hopkins or DeAndre Swift in a 2021 first.
If I'm contending, I'll take Hopkins. If not, I'll go the Swift route.
That's one. Darrell Henderson, Mostert, Lamb, Chenault, 2021 third, 2021 fourth, 2021 fourth, or Brady, Aaron Jones, Julio Jones in Superflex.
I'll ride with the package.
Okay. Superflex and tight end premium, Dak or Cam Newton, Jonnu, and Jalen Reagor.
Dak.
Goddard or Tunyon, Zach Moss, 2021 second.
I'll take the package.
2021 first, 2 2021 seconds. Oh, sorry, 221 first or Denzel Mim. Seconds or Denzel Mim.
Mims.
Go. Okay. Gibson or Chenault, the 109 and the 110.
Gibson.
Whoa. OBJ or T. Higgins and Paris Campbell.
Higgins.
That's 7. Okay, so
I take that back.
Gibson?
I want the Chenault side. Nah, I want the Chenault side. I take it back.
Oh my goodness.
I take it back.
Right. So yeah, that
don't
was
crucify me for that one. I take it back.
2 first and Chenault for Gibson. Good work out there. I mean, I like Gibson. That was fun to watch the other day. Yeah. All right, so we got 7. Are you ready to read the questions? I can do the timer.
I'm ready. Let's do this.
All right, ready, set, go.
All right, DJ Moore in a 2021 second or ETN?
DJ Moore.
All right, T. Higgins in a 2021 first or Joe Mixon?
T. Higgins.
There you go. CMC or Swift and Akers?
Swift Akers. CMC.
All right. 2021 first, 2021 second, or Zeke?
Zeke, because I don't know when the first were.
All right. Higgins and the 103, or Hardman, Chenault, the 110, a 2021 second, a 2022 first, and a 2022 second.
Chenault side.
Kyler and DeAndre Hopkins, or Dalvin Cook and Justin Herbert?
Give me the stack.
All right. Swift and a 2021 first, or Dalvin Cook and Alexander Madison?
Swift.
Dalvin Cook, Madison, Baker, or Josh Allen, Eckler, Cortland Sutton?
Allen side. That was a minute 8.
All right.
I'll give it to a 15. Not bad.
That's not bad.
So we'll try to beat 15 next week. We got a ton of questions. Thanks for all the cooperation, everybody. That was awesome. A lot of work.
I feel like, though, just thinking about it, I'd probably take. I feel like I want that the Higgins side on that one deal. Higgins in the 103.
So that's because it's the 110-ish. Like he's not sure yet. So if that ends up being a little bit earlier, that matters to me because you're not getting Fields or Lawrence with the 103. I guess you are getting the top position player, but you're probably picking a wide receiver as the top. ETN might end up being the one.
That's what I'm thinking. So like Higgins and ETN versus Hardman, who's a throwaway. Chenault, okay, we'll see. And then the 110 and a 2021 second, and then also the 2022 first and a 2022 second. I feel like I'd rather have Higgins and ETN.
Yeah, you're right. Probably. I wasn't really thinking about ETN. I was thinking more along the lines of if I went wide receiver there. I just am so weary of going wide receiver that early anymore.
Yeah,
it hasn't worked out so long. But yeah, ETN's probably slam dunk there, and then you're getting the top position player. Yeah, the gap between Chenault and Higgins when Justin Fields is throwing Chenault passes might not be as big.
Right. Yeah. We'll see though.
Well, that's about it from us. If you want to go ahead and get us out of here.
Yep. So thanks everybody for showing up. We appreciate all the support. I mean, it's been a while, and we're going to try and get back on a more regular schedule. Hopefully, my schedule throughout the week is going to start dying down. I'm doing like 4 to 5 articles per week, the various sites that I write for 4 and like a few other places. But you can definitely come find us on Twitter. Check out our Twitter handles like down below. Chris Allen, FFWX, AP Wildy. Come check us out there. You'll be able to, we'll have this up on YouTube, and we'll also be checking the comments. So drop us a like, subscribe to the channel because we've got so many other content providers here at the great site called DLF that's providing like some daily content for everybody. So definitely check that out. If you got any other questions, the link down at the bottom that's scrolling, you should be able to put in your question there, and it'll send us an email that we can answer that on the show. Plenty of ways to get involved and to get a hold of us. So with that, I'm Chris. That's Adam. Appreciate y'all for coming and checking us out, and we'll catch y'all next time.
Peace.